situation that made you feel as if you are at the dead end? Have you been on a crossroad? And have you been in a position where you did not know the direction that you need to take or the eventual outcome? Are you at that very point in time that nothing seems to be making any sense at all? I got news for you. You're not alone. And the very reason that you are watching this episode is because you are still alive to tell your story. So sit back because I am alive to tell my story. And you too will get through this crossroad, this season. It's only a matter of time. So wherever you are watching us from, welcome to LTS episode number 21. And we want to thank all the subscribers who have subscribed to our channel. And it may not be a small feat, but I think I'm proud to say we have crossed the 500 mark and we are still growing. So we invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like our videos, comment and share. And with open arms, we welcome all of you to LTS family. Now, the year is 1983 and I was aged 5 years, and at that time I was attending a KG2 area nursery school. Now, let me paint the picture for you. That time the school was only an all Asian school, apart from the minority natives like me. Now, the reason I was in that school is because I had developed a curiosity and I had a lot of questions why every time a Muzungu would be seen in my village, everybody would always hallow them and treat them as though we, the natives, belonged to a lesser god. That curiosity made me want to know what's so special about these Mzungu people. So I always asked my dad, what is so special with the Mzungu that we, the natives, don't have? Now, this question always went unanswered, and the curiosity grew deeper and deeper every single day. Now, my parents enrolled me to a nursery school near my home, and when I learned that it was for the natives, that means the local or Wananchi, I declined and refused to attend. In fact, I threw tantrums, real tantrums, and I endeared my dad to take me to the school where Mzungu children were studying. Now, that drive to know what was so unique and different about them made me have many questions to understand literally. How can I find answers? And for that reason, I decided to embark on a journey by myself since no one was giving me any straight answers. Sit back. Now, since my dad was smarter than me by age, he opted to take me to an all-Asian school. Yes, all-Asian school. At that age, I did not know the difference between Mzungu and Mhindi. To me, they all looked same and they spoke English. Little did I know that Mzungu schools were very, very expensive and not even affordable. In fact, the school fee of one child for 1 year was enough to feed my entire village. So my dad was smart enough and he took me to an all Asian school. So my journey to the quest of what's so different and what's so unique began. And I wanted to know what is so different between the natives and the Mzungu. And when I was aged 4 years, when I was aged 4 years, I remember so well. In my class, me and one of my other native African boy who had a similar name like me called Sammy, we became really, really good friends. And eventually, our families became great friends too. The only mission I had was to make sure in literally every field, every subject, everything, I compete fairly with this Muzungu and be the best that I could be, if not among the top performers. And yes, you bet it. That was the pride of my parents, especially my father, who used to walk around the village saying, "My boy has done it, my boy has done it." And in fact, he used to say, "My African boy is shining so bright amongst the children of the colonial masters." That used to make me feel so proud. Now, one day, while I was in KG2, in that all Asian nursery school, since my dad used to drop me in the morning and would pick me in the afternoon after classes, the unimaginable happened. And that's why today I'm still alive and here to tell my story. The janitor in that school was a guy called Charles, and that was his real name, by the way. Right now, I don't know where he is. I don't know what happened because it's more than 36 years past. Now, since he knew every corner of the school and every child and every parent, he approached me as I waited for my pickup after school. Now, he was a native, as we say, a son of the African soil, just like me. And so I considered him like a father. And since we were the minority in the school, I trusted him and I trusted every word that he said. Now, for some reason, that day, it started drizzling at about 12 noon. So we stayed in class, awaiting our pickups. I remember very, very well it was at 1 p.m. because at that time, the town hall bell used to gong at that time, 1 p.m. or 5 minutes to 1 p.m. Now, Charles came and took me by hand and he said, "Hey, I've been instructed to drop you home since it's really raining." And without any hesitation, because I trusted him, he was a staff, he was working in that school and I had known him. He mounted me on his bicycle model and I'll never forget. It was the Raleigh Raja model, Black Mamba as they called it. And little did I know, that was the beginning of a long day. He had finished his duty and so we started off. But my curiosity took the best of me when I realized the route that he was taking was not the one that I used to. I was not the one that I knew. It was not the one that my father used to do every single day when he picked me up and when he dropped me. And to avoid a fall, because he was riding the bike very, very fast, I clung on him so tightly so that I can avoid a fall. I remember very well, I held him so tightly by the waist, because he was riding very, very, very fast. Yeah, and of course I could feel the breeze and the wind hitting my face against his shoulder. And then because I think he was working so hard, he was also smelling a lot of sweat, So I was persevering two things, the wind, the smell of the sweat, and the certainty. And I remember I had two things, a skidding brake, and then a boom, and then blackout. Members of LTS family, when I opened up my eyes, it was dark. And I saw the street lights through the high window panels. I was wet. I was shaken but I was still in school uniform, except for a few bruises on my elbows and on my knees. I started screaming and I walked towards the metal door that had the grills and the rails just to find out where exactly I was. It was then that I realized, and it dawned on me at age 5, that I was in a public toilet and had been locked from the outside. Now, since this public toilet was by the roadside, I started shouting and asking for help. Ahoy, ahoy! Somebody help me! Ahoy, ahoy! And at this time, it was more than 7 hours that I had been missing. Now, my uncle, who was attending a nearby secondary school, had come to pick me up during the lunch break. And he had been informed that the janitor, Mr. Charles, had already picked me up. Now, there was a little bit of a story here and there that was not very clear. He normally tells the story to say that someone informed him that I had already been picked up. And this someone who informed him was the same janitor who had already taken captive of their son of the African soil. And that's me, the young Sammy. So he went back. Now, the search began after my dad had arrived home at about 5 p.m. and realized that I was missing. Now, they started the hunt looking for me. And remember, they tried to search from the school, which was closed by then, to all the places they thought I could be. And of course, they went to one person who would have known my whereabouts, and that is Sammy. I told you before, we were 2 black natives in that all Asian school. So when they arrived at Sammy's place, Sammy is the one who cleared their doubts. And he said that he saw me mounting on Charles' bike, and it was Charles who left with me from school. So my dad demanded to know from the school where Charles stays. So they traced for him to his house, but he was missing in action. Now, change of location. I'm still in the public toilet. It's now way past 8 p.m. in the evening, and the crowd had started gathering around that public toilet. And since I was using every bit of my strength to shout for help, I could be able to attract a few public, curious onlookers who were afraid at the same time. Why? Because when they looked at me, they saw that I was in my uniform, and they could tell that that uniform was not from a public school. It was not from a government school. So their perception was I was a child of a very, very rich person who had been kidnapped, and the deal had gone south. So nobody wanted to come close. Now, my uncle, who was still on the search looking for me, and since he was blaming himself for not picking me up on that day from school, he happened to pass by that very same toilet, public toilet, and he saw a public gathering around it. And I'm telling you, he said he feared for the worst. Why? Because word had started running round, and it was moving like a bushfire that there is a missing child locked inside the public toilet. So he came running, and when he saw me standing on the grilled doors, he broke down crying, and he came to my rescue. That uncle is called Uncle Gebi. I'm sure if he gets to see this video, maybe he will remember that story. So the door was chain locked. So with the help of public and a few members of the public, using all crude tools that they could find around, they attempted to break the door open. Now, by that time, the local police had arrived at the scene and they were able to break the door free and they opened it. Now, Uncle Gedi gave me his pullover and carried me on his shoulder until we got home. I was reunited with my family again, and it was not late until in the evening. We are talking way past 9 p.m. You can imagine I was missing from about 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. I was shaken. I was afraid. I had bruises on my elbows and on my knees. I was hungry. But alhamdulillah, I was still alive and very much well and sound. Now, a manhunt for Charles began after police took the report, and luckily, after 2 weeks, he was in the village, found with serious body injuries. I was kept away completely until today from the details of what was the motive behind my so-called kidnap, who was behind the whole arrangement, and why was Charles involved and what was his contribution. Until today, those are questions that I don't have any answers to. All I know is that I never saw Charles again up to the time I completed the KG2 and was ready to join grade 1 in the primary school. Now, this time I will not let my dad play tricks on me again. At least I had already known the difference between a Muzungu and a Muhindi. So I told him I did not want to go to a Muhindi primary school. I wanted to go to a Muzungu primary school. My dad called me to a meeting at the age of 6. And this is what he told me. My son, no, because now you have conquered the Mhindi, try and conquer the fellow brilliant native minds as I look for Muzungu school. And once I get it, I will transfer you immediately. So I half-heartedly joined Eldoret Union Primary School in 1986 and continued the journey to conquer the native brilliant minds. It was never a walk in the park. And although I would either top the class or be among the best in class, the struggle was very real. I was getting convinced within that the public perception of the Muzungu being better than the natives was a misguided perception. On the contrary, we are more equal, if not far much better than the Mzungu. Now, every passing year, I kept on asking my dad, "Hey dad, have you secured a Mzungu primary school for me?" And the answer will still be the same. And 8 years down the line, just like that, hoping to compete with Mzungu kids, to clear my young mind on what was so different about us, went just like that. Now, there were challenges which were common with every education system. But alhamdulillah, again, I completed and passed very well and was able to join high school with the same big question to my dad. "Dad, now get me a Muzungu high school." Believe it or not, I'm still alive and well to tell my story of just what happened to me in the nursery experience. And that was just an initiation into the real world. Now, to all the staff, all employees who work in schools, whatever level it could be, You have been entrusted with pupils or students or children so that you can nurture them, instill knowledge, and support in their development holistically. But never be part of a scheme to either extort or take advantage of the children or the pupils or the students or even their parents for your selfish gain. LTS family, stay tuned to Alive and Well to tell my stories part number 2 on the high school edition. This is the simple truth of the week. The start of the school year can conjure up a lot of emotions. So sometimes a mini pep talk is a must. Now, whether your kids are heading back to school or you are a teacher starting a fresh school year, no matter where you come from or what your situation is, education in any form can completely change your world and broaden your horizon. So, children must be taught how to think and not what to think. We can never thank you enough for being part of LTS. And again, we have already gone past the 500 subscribers because of you, and we still invite all those who have not joined our LTS family to subscribe to our channel. You can click on the notification bell, and the handles are just running down on the screens. And every week, we are giving you our word to bring you content that will inform, inspire, motivate, and even educate you. So again, many thanks for being part of the LTS family. And as we always say it here in LTS, that means let's talk staff. Remember, the most highly valued asset of any successful company is the staff. And so, irrespective of whichever industry you are in, as a teacher, as a janitor, like Charles, remember you have been entrusted with the responsibility. Be honest with yourself, serve from the heart, and everything will fall in place. So, anytime you are on a crossroad, remember, there's always a road between the cross. Until next week on Still Alive to Tell the Story Part 2, my high school edition. Be safe, be kind, God bless, and see you then.